Let's talk about Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo.
So Ninth House is a dark academia with a little bit of fantasy by Leigh Bardugo. We follow our main character, Alex Stern, as she is recruited to gatekeep Yale's secret society. Now, Alex is not your typical person. She has some special abilities, wherein she can see grays, which is basically the ghosts in this universe. Now, upon being recruited and a couple of weeks in, there has been a murder at campus. That's basically where the story kicks off. So we follow Alex as she tries to uncover the murder, and we see at what extent Alex will go through to get to the bottom of who's murdered this person. What were my initial thoughts before reading Ninth House? I must say I was really excited before reading this book. The premise of the book seemed really promising. I must admit, from reading the blurb at the back of the book to now finishing the story, it is a little bit misleading. Now that I have finished the book, I must say I am quite disappointed in how I felt towards it at the end. Now let me make it clear. The book in itself is decent. As I was reading the book, I was enjoying that experience. I was disappointed by how I felt when it finished. I really didn't have that burning desire to pick up Hellbent. Now, if you're unaware, Hellbent is the second book in the Alex Stern series. Now let's talk about the pace of Ninth House. Now the pace of the story is actually quite good. It kept you engaged, that it made you want to read the next chapter and then the next and then the next, that you couldn't put the book down because you really wanted to know what was happening. I also think that the magic system involved in this universe is brilliant. As I've mentioned to you, Alex has this special ability to see ghosts, and some of the other secret societies, they also have some special abilities depending on which house you get drafted into, or you belong, if that's the right term to say it actually. You know, it ranges from glamour magic all the way to transformation magic. So I think, although it's not explicitly shown in the book, it's kind of like there, it's a vibe that you know that the magic does exist in the universe. But I think how it was introduced and how it was presented to the reader was brilliant. It just gave you that little bit of information without exposing it too much, so that your imagination can run wild as you will with that magic system. So there was no bounds to that magic system, I suppose. There is, but there isn't at the same time. However, let's talk about the plot in itself. A little bit of Charbox coffee. As I've mentioned, Ninth House is a dark academia with a little bit of fantasy. As a concept, it's very exciting. Now, my only comment about the plot of Ninth House is the secret society in itself. Now, if you present me a secret society story, I kind of want it to be involved in the main story plot, although it is in Ninth House, but we are already presented to it as a reader, and Alex as the main character already gets to know about the secret societies very early on. We focus very much on the murder mystery aspect of what was happening in campus, rather than the secret society in itself. For me, I probably would have just liked it a bit more if we were discovering the secret society with Alex, or if there was that thing that the reader knew about the secret society and Alex didn't, and we see how she traverses through it to figure it out, whether she knows it or not, or Alex knows about it, we know about it, but she's not part of it, but she desperately wants to be part of it, and we see her journey trying to get into the secret society. I know that's kind of like a typical plotline, but I think that probably would have sold it for me, because we're selling the secret society, but then the secret society kind of became a background for me, if I'm being honest. Apart from that, that is the only comment about this book. Otherwise, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now let's talk about some of the characters in Ninth House. Let's start out with Alex. I think the main question we should be asking is Alex a likable character? Now, personally, I think yes, I think Alex is a likable character. Reading the book, book, Alex did have those typical traits that you would find in a young adult, new adult character. You know, she's a little bit angsty, she feels like she's got the weight of the world on her shoulder when she's so young, those typical kind of traits. Now, it is explained in the book because the book does kind of jump between timelines, so there's loads of flashbacks to kind of go into character development. So it does delve into why Alex is the way she is, albeit it's a little bit confusing. I think the author is trying to explain, but it only adds a little bit more confusion to her character rather than provide some clarity. But yes, she is a likable character. There's also Daniel Arlington, or he's referred to in the book most of the time as Darlington, and Darlington acts as Alex's mentor. So it is implicitly implied in the book that Darlington is the mentor figure for Alex, as in the hierarchy of things in the secret society that they're safekeeping or they're guarding, Darlington is Alex's superior. Now, there's no point of sugarcoating it. I personally don't like Darlington as a character. Now, I know that Darlington and the book is not written in that perspective, but he just gives me that vibe of, you know, in those romantic tropes or romanticy tropes where there's the love interest of the main character, where you don't know whether this person is likable or not. There's a little bit of angst, but a little bit of likeness. That's Darlington's character. They do go into explaining why Darlington is the way he is as well through the flashbacks. Again, it does more to confuse the reader. It does more to confuse me anyway. I'm not sure that was the intention of the author, to confuse the reader, but definitely confused me when I was reading it, because you're unpicking things in the flashback and you're like, okay, I think it should be clearer, but it poses more questions, which is actually quite brilliant if you think about it. If those questions aren't really answered, so you kind of keep on reading the book because you think, okay, maybe it will answer it a bit more as we go into the chapters. So I divert a little bit. As I mentioned, Darlington is that character. So the moment we get introduced to Darlington, I automatically got the feeling that he might be Alex's love interest. So that's the vibe I got from him. The way that he's written, it's not really to my style. I mean, I've seen it before over and over again. I immediately took a dislike to him, and unfortunately that didn't really change my opinion all throughout the book. Now, there is a character, however, who I didn't see or think as I was reading the book in the beginning that I would really like. And this character is Dawes. Now, let me put it this way. Dawes is the kind of character you want to be friends with in real life. She does throughout the book battle with some moral dilemmas. However, she always comes through. Dawes' character was absolutely well written, in my opinion, that as I was reading the book, when there was a scene where Dawes was involved and there were some things happening, I would think to myself, everything would be fine. I felt safe in that space because Dawes was there. That's how beautifully written Dawes was. So Leigh Bardugo, hands up, well done for creating a character that we can resonate and think, actually, that is my person. Now, would I recommend that you read Ninth House if you haven't read so yet? Yes, absolutely. I feel that Ninth House is a very good book, and it's a very good entry point for dark academia if you're not used to reading dark academia. At the same time, it's a good entry point to fantasy as well. So definitely recommend this book. A little bit of a disclaimer though, that if you do plan to read this book, I would highly suggest that you read the trigger warning, as this is definitely a dark book that might upset some readers if you're not prepared for it. Because I definitely, as I was reading the book, there were some elements into the book that I actually didn't expect to read. I do highly suggest that if you want to pick up this book, it is a good book, that you do read the trigger warnings and then make that informed decision whether you want to proceed reading this book or not. Overall, I give Ninth House a solid 3 out of 5 stars. Now, for you superfans out there, before you go for my jugular, please read my star ratings in the description down below. Otherwise, happy reading!